Hi, this is Masterpain and welcome to my channel. Huge news from the global lab server. Sorceress just has acquired the Succession skills. For all those who don't know yet, Succession is a new path for developing your character, where you are restricted to use your main weapon only. So in this case it is the amulet, and it disables your awakening completely. The patch arrived to the global lab last Friday. It is already done for some other classes too, and Perlbus seems to go through them in the order of the former release. I was expecting the Sorceress to hit the test server anytime soon. So there we go, let's jump in to check out what the Succession looks like and what we can expect. Here's the new page for Succession skills, and right off the bat we can see that it looks very similar to the Awakening tab. There are 6 core skills to level up, 4 skills which get single upgrades, 2 skills which retain the Awakening character, and passives along with the ultimate buff. The Succession skills upgrade their basic counterparts, and to do so you need to max them out on the main tab first, but without the absolutes. Some of them get completely new animations, sounds and particles, and few get minor changes, but all increased damage. So reading from the first, these are Claws of Darkness, and it practically gets a damage buff only. Crow Flare, that has now a little charging effect added, which brings the floating CC to the hit, and while charging it is super armor. The hit is still unprotected, so it will need a little more work to make use in PvP. The next is Shadow Eruption, and again it is damage buff and some mana recovery, quite a big hit now actually. The Black Wave, which gets additional big last hit and increases in size while casting, reduced cooldown and mana recovery, makes it ideal for grinding stronger monsters. Also it gets a down smash which can be useful in PvP finishers. Dream of Doom gets a damage buff and the cooldown reduced by 1 second. Abyssal Flame gets its upgrade with a knockdown effect. Also it's easier now to cast it off the Sideways Nightcrow too. Midnight Stinger gets a damage buff with increased move distance by almost a double. Rushing Crow gets also increased distance, but the greatest change here is the super armor effect, making it a protected CC. I wish it was implemented as a regular. Dark Flame gets a damage buff with the more appealing animation, looks really powerful and smooth now. And here's the big upgrade to the Bloody Calamity, which adds super armor effects to it, and the new ranged shot, very like the Dream of Doom, a great tool to live through some of the hard CC engages. Another 2 are probably the ones you are mostly intrigued by so far, and they are basically the copies of the Awakening counterparts. Turnback Slash is here, sadly with only increased damage. And as I tested it, you can do Turnback Slash animation cuts only from the Nightcrow. You cannot do it within combos as usually, which actually makes its usability quite limited. The Violation here has a larger area of effect. It also received its forward guard back, but the CC effects are applied only for monsters. Nonetheless, it's a great addition and core skill to use in engages and finishers. Good thing to note is that after Nightcrow, Midnight Stinger or Shadow Eruption you can cast it just by hitting C. At the top row we have the E-buff skill, same as Awakening one, and 2 passives, from which one gives mana points besides anything that hides behind these Korean bushes, and the second that increases magic AP plus 7 total. Okay, let's go through some duels with my opinion on these changes. We get a bunch of protected possible rotations, but we don't have a static blocking ability. This will come out especially when facing a typical ranged classes. You need to really stay on the move, which burn more stamina as usual. It also puts Sorceress a little bit more in a ranged class category. Hit them and disable from afar, jump in and finish. However, we get a powerful protected engages, and this will make Sorceress even more deadly up in close. Overall, I like these changes very much, maybe except Claws of Darkness, which for me feels like it's here by a mistake. Some of the mechanics need to be learned again, but the Succession skills flow pretty well from each other, and it feels a little bit easier to cast them. Another thing I think should be worked out before release is how these Awakening-like abilities are cast. Awakened Violation has a great flow with many amulet skills. And here it's limited only to 3, like you can't cast it smoothly after Shards, Q buff or Rushing Crow. Also same with the Turnback Slash, more animation cuts should be brought into the successions as well. To some extent I think that I would choose the succession path because of the damage and protection. It feels more powerful, focusing on strong aspects of the character. The Awakening brings more utilities though, like nightmare blocking and animation cancels. The new path is definitely an option for players with lower APs, and it will help them grind higher level spots. Pair it with the ultimate cannon weapon that will be released eventually, and although you can't use the sight, you still can equip the item and get the bonus monster AP from it. Choosing succession here will bring a lot more power into grinding. I hope some of these highlights helped you understand the future changes to our class, and if it did, drop a like for this video. Although succession brings a fresh air to the game, I think that some of the older stuff should also be revisited before its release, because for now the new succession Sorceress offers just a little bit more in my opinion. I'm very interested on your views about this matter, so feel free to leave a comment down below. Also check out my Twitter and Instagram, subscribe if you didn't, and I hope to see you soon. Peace.